You're watching Newsbreak with me, Sanket Upadhyay. The news around the caste census is back. So is the clamour and so is the politics. The opposition is now demanding in-depth data on the caste breakup. Now, it's important to know when was the last caste census done in this country. The last census to publish data on all castes in this country was pre-independence, 1931. After 1941, only data on SCs, STs were published. Data on other communities like OBCs were not collected. The 1931 census pegged OBC population at 52% of the total population. But it's not like a similar attempt has not been made. Data has not been published since 1931, but an attempt was made in 2011, the UPA years. Census was collected. They collected raw data on other castes as well, but it was not published. Now the opposition is demanding that an updated caste census be done and data shared. They say, and here we are now going to tell you what each leader in the opposition space is saying. So first we'll begin with Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, who has written a letter to the Prime Minister. He says reliable database is essential for social justice in the society. Rahul Gandhi also in Kolar, in an election speech, incidentally the same Kolar where he made the Modi surname jibe, and then it led to his conviction and disqualification. From that very place, because of which the BJP attacked him, that he's anti-OBC, Rahul Gandhi has launched this pro-OBC gesture where he says the centre must release the 2011 caste data and also carry out a caste census. Rahul Gandhi also says that remove the 50% cap on quota for SCs, STs and OBCs. And Nitish, Kumar, a leader in whose state the caste census at a state level is already happening, he says we demand a properly conducted caste census. The Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi also is demanding a Bihar-like census on OBCs in Maharashtra. Akhilesh Yadav too has joined in. He says census a must to give communities their rights. Mayawati also not far behind, saying that the centre should undertake nationwide census. So it is very clear that the opposition seems to be rallying behind the Congress or uniting in their demand from the central government on having a caste-based census. Now, what exactly is the arithmetic of caste? That needs to be understood. So, according to the Economic Caste Census 2011, the scheduled caste, and this by the way is data that has already been released, because as we told you, data of SC, ST is released, but you don't have exact breakup of what exactly is the caste of the OBCs. So, SC are 16.6%, STs are 8.6%. This is according to the census data of 2011. But as per the census of 1931, which tabulated the OBCs, that was at 52, and this is pre-independence. This is many decades ago. We do not have the data of the OBCs, exact percentage of OBCs in this country, even now. Now, why is the centre not agreeing? Well, in an affidavit that the central government filed in the top court, that is the Supreme Court in 2021, the centre asked the Supreme Court not to include data on OBCs in the 2021 census. They said that excluding OBCs from caste census is a conscious policy decision. The process administratively is very difficult and cumbersome. Such census will suffer due to incomplete data. 2011 census, according to them, because of which they say that they did not release the data, is fraught with mistakes and inaccuracies, and that is why it's not been released. Population census is not ideal instrument to collect details on OBCs. So this is the data which the central government has given. They say that this is the reason why we do not want, to carry out a caste-based census which will include the breakup of OBCs. But why is exactly the center, or is this why the center is avoiding a caste census? And this is information that we have gathered, or some questions that we have gathered by speaking, after speaking to a lot of experts. Is the BJP ducking a fresh caste census despite polling well with OBCs, that they do not know what the result is going to be? Do remember 44% of the OBCs voted for the BJP in 2019. Now, if a caste census is to be done, will the results show that the government is not doing enough for the OBCs, despite the fact that they have 44% of their support? Will the new census allow regional parties to demand reshaping of the OBC quota? Can the census open a Pandora's box in terms of social justice politics in this country? This is hard data. Can that hard data highlight economic and social inequalities and thus create a huge problem ahead of 2024 for all the caste-based politics that has been done? So in the run-up to 2024, now that we see a caste census push, is this a big political glue for the opposition one more time? This one issue? And are we seeing a return to the Mandal Kamandal politics, where you saw one section chase castes and the other section chase religion? I would like to introduce our guests this evening. Sanjay Kumar is a psephologist and professor of CSDS. Sujata Paul, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Tuhin Sinha, BJP spokesperson. PKD Nambiar is a political analyst opposed to the BJP. In just a short moment, we'll also have Mr. Shivanand Tiwari, senior leader of the RJD. I would like to begin with you, Professor Kumar. How do you look at this fresh push by the opposition, and do you feel that this can be that big political glue for the opposition in the run-up to 2024 in cornering the government?
Sanket, I don't think this could be a glue on which opposition parties can unite, but I think there is one voice in which opposition parties are demanding for a caste-based census, or we say OBC census. I think the reasons are very simple. You have already stated that if we look at, the first phase of Mandal politics, a large number of OBCs voted for the regional parties. But what has happened during last 10 years is that a lot of OBCs vote has shifted in favor of BJP, especially when it comes to the Lok Sabha election. We have already cited the data, 44% of OBCs have voted for the BJP. So I think there's a fear among the BJP quarters that, if there is a caste census, if there is an OBC census, and once they get to know that the socio-economic condition of OBC has not improved during last 10 years, the regional parties might be able to play politics around that. When I say politics, they may be able to pick up these issues and go to the people, go to their core supporters who have voted for them in the early days of post-Mandal politics. That's the, I think, contestation. The regional parties think that this could be a moment when they can reinvent their OBC politics, or what we call Mandal 2. And BJP has some fear that if that happens, OBC vote might shift back to regional party, which could be, and BJP might face some difficulty in 2024 if we think with regard to the OBC votes.
Okay, Tuhin Sinha, you see in the Supreme Court, in your affidavit of the central government to the Supreme Court, you seem to be citing, and by you I mean the central government, that there are administrative problems that one can face. Right? It says process is administratively difficult and cumbersome. Such census will suffer due to incomplete data. Can this actually be a ground for suggesting that there should not be a caste census? Do you think that this ground is correct?
Well, Sanket, as a responsible central government, we are watchful of deliberate attempts at polarization, which the opposition is a master at, especially when the Congress is in the opposition. Now, yes, there were definite anomalies in the 2001 socio-economic caste census brought out by the Congress Party. But more importantly, even in 1931, when the Britishers had done the last caste-based census, even that was largely flawed and a desperate attempt by them to prolong their stranglehold over the country. So I think at this point of time, If you ask us what we have done for the OBCs, we have done everything possible by the 127th Constitutional Amendment Bill 2021. I mean, we have largely offset these political bargaining, which we knew the regional parties would come forth
Mr.
with.
Sinha.
Today, just one second. Today, every state government has got exclusive powers to determine who will qualify as OBCs within their respective states and union territories. So while all opposition parties are free to carry out these surveys within their respective states, as a central government, we feel on the national level, the policy is not an advisable policy.
Okay. You see, Mr. Sinha, the thing is that in a country where we have seen an extremely successful, of course, politically, there are different views, but an extremely successful database of people having Aadhaar. Can an argument like process being administratively difficult and cumbersome and census suffering incomplete data, do they hold ground? Is it
well, you must
possible?
be aware a commission had been set up, which is still in existence under Rohini Ji, which is looking after the aspects of it. But for this particular census, which is the 2021 census, the process gets difficult because of the anomalies in the previous census in 2011. That is a limited point. But as a whole, if you ask me, we are in no tearing hurry, unlike some of the regional parties who are hell-bent on dividing the country. We feel that a consolidated Hindu Samaj is good enough. If you look at representation, 35% of our present central ministers belong to the OBCs, which are unprecedented. For the first time, the central government introduced OBC quota in medical college, as a result of which the seats have gone up by a good 30% in the last 3 years.
Just challenging this, Sujata Paul, you see, Mr. Tuhin Sinha said that the consolidated Hindu Samaj is fine. I mean, you have a problem, you want to further break this into fragments when you talk about, an OBC caste census. But the point really is that if you want to launch welfare schemes, and that's the argument that one has heard, the efficacy of those welfare schemes and what will be the target audience for which those welfare schemes have been launched requires a very detailed census. Is that the argument that you're building?
Exactly. And the words that I will use will go further than just, there's an echo. Can you please get it corrected?
Is it better now?
Yes. So, when we talk about representation, more than proportionate, it has to be equitable. Because as a teacher, I can tell you, I will be a successful teacher only when the weakest child in my class comes up to the level of the rest of the children doing well. Similarly, a country will progress and develop well and fast only when every section of society gets equitable representation and all welfare schemes reach them properly. Why did the Congress agree to the economically backward reservation? For this reason, because it is not just financial empowerment which is required, but also social empowerment. And this can happen only when there is a caste-based, social, economic, caste-based census. And when that happens, we will be able to make sure that every person who has been used by this government, and specifically the Prime Minister, when he goes to town shouting that he is an OBC, we will come to know how much he has done for the OBCs. Let me give you an example. Rahul Gandhi ji has already mentioned that only 7% of the secretaries of the central government come from the backward classes, Dalits and tribals.
But Sujata Paul, you just heard Tuhin Sinha. He said that every state has the right to decide who is an OBC and who is not. Then
why should the central government not take it upon themselves and come up with these frivolous excuses that it's a cumbersome process? in digital India, if the government is saying that this is cumbersome, it means that they are running away from their responsibility because they want to play vote caste-based politics, only to go to town shouting for votes that, oh, I'm a poor guy.
I'm going to ask this question
OBC,
of Mr. Tuhin Sinha, but let me
them.
introduce Shivanand Tiwari, senior leader of the RJD. शिवानंद तिवारी जी, सरकार की तरफ से ये कहा जा रहा है, तुहिन सिन्हा जी ये कह रहे हैं कि ये ओबीसी का सेंसस करना ये बड़ा मुश्किल है, जातीय जनगणना करना बहुत मुश्किल है, क्योंकि हर राज्य के पास ये इजाज़त है कि वो अपने हिसाब से कौन ओबीसी है उसको निश्चित कर सकें। ऐसे में इतना डेटा जो है वो ठीक से मैनेज नहीं हो पाएगा और गलत सर्वे हो जाएगा।
देखिए, मैंने बिहार में एक प्रयोग हो रहा है। देखिए, पिछले 1 महीने से लोग कह रहे हैं कठिन है, तो कठिन काम को छोड़ दिया जाए अगर वो जरूरी है, इसका तो कोई अर्थ नहीं है। कठिन है, हम भी इस बात को जानते हैं, लेकिन कठिन काम को ही चुनौती के रूप में हम लोगों ने लिखा है। और अभी जो है शुरुआत हुई है, पिछले 15 तारीख को नीतीश कुमार के घर से ही इसकी शुरुआत हुई है। और हम ये सिर्फ कास्ट सेंसस नहीं कर रहे हैं, गिनती नहीं गिन रहे हैं, हम जो है हर परिवार की सामाजिक, शैक्षणिक और आर्थिक स्थिति का भी जायजा ले रहे हैं। अब इससे ही न पता चलेगा कि हम जो है इतने लंबे समय से आज़ादी का हम अमृतकाल महोत्सव मना रहे हैं और आज़ादी के समय से ही शेड्यूल कास्ट, शेड्यूल ट्राइब को हम लोगों ने आरक्षण दिया हुआ है। उसके बाद जो है मैंने ओबीसी को मंडल कमीशन के तहत मिला, उसका क्या फायदा हुआ है, उसका नतीजा क्या निकला है, कौन कहाँ खड़ा है, उसकी सामाजिक हैसियत, शैक्षणिक हैसियत, आर्थिक हैसियत क्या है। सब लोग देख रहे हैं कि समाज में इतनी बड़ी गैर बराबरी है, सब लोगों को दिखाई दे रहा है कि भूख से लोग तबाह हैं। भारत सरकार,
शिवानंद तिवारी जी, एक बात ये भी कही जाती है कि आप और बहुत सारे अन्य दल विपक्ष में जो हैं वो अपना खोया हुआ वजूद ढूंढने के लिए टू बी एबल टू सक्सेसफुली फाइंड योर लॉस्ट ग्राउंड, आप ये कर रहे हैं।
नहीं, हम क्यों कर रहे हैं भाई? अब भारत सरकार ही कर देती, नरेंद्र मोदी जी ही कर देते। इन्होंने तो रोहिणी कमीशन बैठाया है ना, एक 14 बार उसको एक्सटेंशन उन्होंने दिया है। इन लोगों ने जो वादा किया था कि जो पिछड़े हैं, जिस तरह से हमारे यहाँ पिछड़े, अति पिछड़े का मामला है, वर्गीकरण है, मोदी जी की ओर से कहा गया था कि साहब इसमें 3-4 जो है वर्गीकरण करने वाले हैं। और इसके लिए दिल्ली हाईकोर्ट के रिटायर्ड माने जज हैं रोहिणी जी, उनके अध्यक्षता में कमीशन बैठा और हमने जैसा आपको बताया 14 दफा एक्सटेंशन उस कमीशन को दिया गया, लेकिन आज तक उसका रिपोर्ट नहीं आया। तो आप कह रहे हैं, आप इसलिए नहीं करा रहे हैं कि आरएसएस का आपके ऊपर दबाव है, आरएसएस नहीं चाहता है कि जात के आधार पर जनगणना हो। आप तो जनरल जो सेंसस था, जो मैंने आपको 21 में होना था, 11 के बाद 21 में होना था, वो भी नहीं करा रहे हैं। आप तो भी नहीं करा रहे हैं।
Is this what it is? That the BJP or the central government feels that if a caste-based census happens, it will break up the consolidated Hindu vote, which goes in favor of the BJP, and then those fragments will then get scattered between the various opposition players.
अब देखिए,
that is the fear, because of which the government does not want to.
बहुत अंग्रेजी हम नहीं समझते हैं, लेकिन सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी खुद कहा, बिहार के मामले में भी जो नगर निकाय का चुनाव हो रहा था और उत्तर प्रदेश के मामले में भी नगर निकाय का चुनाव हो रहा था, उसमें कहा कि बगैर जो है सर्वे किए हुए, बगैर जांच किए हुए आप कैसे
शिवानंद जी, ये सवाल मैं
दे रहे हैं।
ये सवाल मैं पीकेडी नामबियार जी से पूछ रहा हूं। जी पीकेडी नामबियार।
Sanket, I think you are absolutely right with a small correction. Instead of you should have been used that word, the Hindu society as a whole. The problem is today I'm a little surprised and shocked the way the kind of unity in this opposition talking about the caste census or a caste survey. Imagine that the framers of our constitution, Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, or almost all our spiritual social reformers, whose name, whether it is Akhilesh Yadav to Rahul Gandhi, takes like a great Narayan Guru and etc., they have always envisioned a society which is casteless. And today in 2023, these so-called opposition parties wanted to bring back the caste thought process in our system once again.
No, Mr. Nambiar, is it only the opposition bringing the caste thought process?
Can I just complete?
Has the BJP never spoken about caste, about the OBC credentials of the Prime Minister?
May I tell
or
you?
the OBC orientation of the union cabinet? Is only the opposition guilty?
See, I believe that social inclusion of every representation of every society is important when it comes to a democratic country, whether it is in governance or in any kind of almost every sphere of life. But the bottom line is that what is the whole objective of this caste survey or the proposed caste census, what these people are asking for?
To know where do people stand
Only to divide the
vis-a-vis schemes.
Sanket, can I complete? The whole purpose is to divide the Hindu society, which of course I can tell you this, that whether it is RSS or BJP or Sangh Parivar has been really trying to unite the Hindutva or Hindu society as a whole, but then they realize the problem.
No, by the way, see, the reason why that logic doesn't hold is because members of the SC community are also Hindu.
Is to divide the Hindu society.
No, then 2011, sir, one moment. Sujata Paul and Shivanand Tiwari, one by one. Sujata Paul, if that is the case, if you are dividing the Hindu community by asking for a caste-based survey, then members of the SC community are also Hindu.
No, I mean it is
शिवानंद तिवारी या नीतीश कुमार ने जाति व्यवस्था लागू नहीं किया है. जाति व्यवस्था जो है शिवानंद तिवारी या नीतीश कुमार या लालू यादव ने लागू नहीं किया है. ये जाति व्यवस्था जो है हिंदू धर्म का अंग है. और आप जो है हिंदू राष्ट्र बनाने की जो बात कर रहे हैं उसमें जो है पिछड़ों का, दलितों की क्या स्थिति होगी, इसके बारे में आज तक किसी ने स्पष्टीकरण नहीं दिया है. और आप कह रहे हैं कि हिंदू धर्म को बांटने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. हिंदू धर्म में कास्ट सिस्टम हम लोगों ने लागू किया है. ये तो अनंत काल से चला रहा है हिंदू. हम जो चाह रहे हैं कि हिंदू समाज व्यवस्था में जो गैर बराबरी है, छुआछूत है, वो खत्म हो और एक समता मूलक समाज बने जो संविधान हमारा कहता है उसके अनुसार समाज जो है बने.
Tuhin Sinha on the screen, please. Mr. Sinha wanted to come in of the BJP. Yes, Mr. Sinha. Mr. Sinha, is this clearly a political reality for the BJP that the moment there will be an OBC caste census, you will be robbed of, or at least an attempt will be made where other political parties will find their feet in their respective form of politics?
You need to understand that as on all other issues, we believe in empowerment against appeasement. Now, I am asking you, you have grown up in Uttar Pradesh, I have grown up in Bihar. हमने वो सोसाइटी देखा है 90 में जब ये पार्टीज जो हैं कास्ट पॉलिटिक्स की एवज में किस तरह से दोनों राज्यों को बर्बाद कर चुके थे. हम 25 साल आगे की भारत की कल्पना कर रहे हैं. आप बीच में मत बोलिए मैडम, आप पीछे मत बोला करिए, अपने आप पीछे बताती, बीच में मत बोलिए. हम
one by one, please. Sujata Paul, one by one, please.
की कल्पना कर रहे हैं. ये लोग भारत को 25 साल पीछे ले जाना चाहते हैं. जहां तक एम्पावरमेंट का सवाल है, आप कोई भी डेटा एनालिसिस कर लीजिए. जो भी गवर्नमेंट के सोशल वेलफेयर स्कीम्स हैं, भले वो
I don't understand why is the government when the government gives a reason that the process. Tuhin Sinha, when the government gives a reason that the process is administratively difficult and cumbersome, that the census will suffer due to incomplete data, and population census is not the ideal instrument to collect details on OBCs. Can you tell our viewers what is that ideal process?
Sanket ji, when we have the best interests of the country in mind, when we say it is cumbersome, it is largely because of the anomalies carried out in the 2011 census. The Congress just wants to create a halo that it has done certain things.
But one moment, Tuhin Sinha, it's been 12 years since.
We want to do things the right way.
In 12 years, you have not formulated any mechanism that you have to depend only on the 2011 formula.
I told you the ways we think the OBC and the weaker sections can be empowered. If the Congress is obsessed about population data, then obviously our priorities are different. Our worldviews are different about how we want to take the country forward.
आपने तो census भी नहीं कराया. ये भी तो आरोप है.
संकेत, can I come in?
वो कोविड की वजह से डिले हुआ था.
Okay, fine. Sujata Paul and then Professor Kumar.
Yes, the point is that you can see the kind of confusion that
हमारा हेड काउंट नहीं है. हम हेड काउंट नहीं कर रहे हैं. हम समाज में किस तबके की क्या स्थिति है, शैक्षणिक स्थिति और सामाजिक स्थिति क्या है, ये हम जानना चाहते हैं, ताकि हमारी जो भी योजना बने विकास के लिए, जो भी हम जो है योजना बनावें, वो जो हमारा सबसे और सबसे नीचे जो रह गया है तबका उसको
बहुत
कैसे ऊपर
जल्दी
उठाया
आपको याद
जाए,
आई
ये योजना बनाने में भी आगे मदद
Okay,
होगी।
okay,
और
two
इसलिए
last
नरेंद्र
comments,
मोदी
please.
जी ने भी पिछड़ों का
Sujata Paul and then
समर्थन लेने
Professor
के लिए
Sanjay Kumar,
नरेंद्र
please.
मोदी ने भी
Yes,
घोषणा किया था
तिवारी जी,
कि
आप
हम
थोड़ा रुक
पिछड़ों का
जाइए ना।
वर्गीकरण करेंगे और रोहिणी कमीशन बनाया था। आप उनसे पूछिए आरएसएस और भारतीय
ठीक है,
जनता
तिवारी
पार्टी के
जी।
लोग जो बने हुए
सुन ली
हैं
आपकी
उन्होंने
बात,
क्यों
हाँ।
रोहिणी कमीशन बनाया था?
Can
जी,
you get
सुजाता
उसका
पॉल
purpose
एंड देन
क्या था?
प्रोफेसर कुमार,
उसका
वन बाय वन।
उद्देश्य क्या
Yes,
था?
you know,
और 14
you
बार
can-
एक्सटेंशन उन्होंने दिया। ये
you
जी,
can
तिवारी
see
जी,
from
सुनिए,
what
ये
Mr.
दलितों की
Nambiar,
आंख में धूल झोंक रहे हैं।
अरे आप 2 मिनट चुप हो जाइए. You can hear what Mr. Nambiar is saying, and he is talking about appeasement politics of a different kind. And the BJP spokesperson is talking about dividing the Hindu community. PKD Nambiar is talking about dividing somebody. I don't know what they're trying to get at. The point is that if we are a social welfare state, then every scheme has to reach every person. One. Secondly, if we are a successful digital India, what is stopping us from carrying out a proper census? And third, the government, Mr. Tuhin Sinha, has not said that this is wrong. They have said that the process is cumbersome. They
No,
will
they are
not be
also
able to
saying
do
in,
it. But
in an affidavit, the central government has also said that the population census is not an ideal instrument to collect data on OBCs. Final comment,
Yes,
Professor
because they
Sanjay
don't
Kumar.
want to
Professor Sanjay
And-
Kumar, if at the base of it, if we were to assume that it is politics for 2024, I come back to the moot question again. Can this, number one, keep the opposition together? And number two, will this reflect on the ground?
Again, Sanket, I don't think this issue could be the glue which can unite the entire opposition together. Yes, as an issue, they are all speaking in one voice, but this can't be an issue for 2024 if we think from the perspective of the opposition. On the ground, yes, sections of people might feel sympathetic towards this issue. They might feel enthusiastic, but as I said, this can't be an electoral issue for 2024.
All right, completely run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us, Professor Sanjay Kumar, Shivanand Tiwari, Sujata Paul, Tuhin Sinha, as well as Mr. PKD Nambiar. That's all the time we have in this edition of Newsbreak. News continues on the other side. Stay with us.